Wow, mastery key to riches? Beautiful. Think and grow rich, Napoleon Hill. Amazing. How the 17 principles that lend themselves to cosmic habit force. Let us turn now. The habit of going the extra mile. This principle is given first because it aids in conditioning the mind for rendering of useful service, and this conditioning prepares the way for the second principle, definiteness of purpose. With the aid of this principle, we may give organized direction to the principle of going the extra mile and make sure that it leads to the direction of one's major purpose and becomes cultivative, cumulative in its effects. These two principles alone will take anyone very far up the ladder of achievement, but those who are aiming for higher goals of life will need much help on the way, and this help is available through the application of the third principle, the mastermind. Through the application of this principle, one begins to experience a new and greater sense of power which is not available to the human individual, as it bridges one's principal deficiencies and provides one with any portion of the combined knowledge of humankind which has been accumulated down through the ages. But the sense of power will not be complete until it acquires the art of receiving guidance from the through the fourth principle, applied faith. Here the individual begins to tune into the power of infinite intelligence, which is a benefit that is available only to those who have conditioned their minds to receive it. Here the individual begins to take full possession of their own mind and mastering all fears, worries, doubts by recognizing their oneness with the source of all power. These four principles have been rightly called the Big Four because they are capable of providing more power than the average person needs to be carried to great heights of personal achievement. But they are adequate only for the very few who have the needed qualities of success, such as those which are provided by the fifth principle, pleasing personality. A pleasing personality enables one to sell oneself and one's ideas to others. Hence, it is essential for all who desire to become the guided influence in a mastermind affluence. But observe carefully how definitely the four preceding principles tend to give one a pleasing personality. These five principles are capable of providing one with a stupendous personal power, but not enough power to be insured against defeat, for defeat in circumstances that everyone meets many times throughout life. Hence the necessity of understanding and applying the sixth principle, the habit of learning from defeat. Notice that this principle begins with the word habit, which means that it must be accepted and applied as a matter of habit under all circumstances of defeat. In this principle may be found hope sufficient to inspire one to make fresh start when one's plan go astray, they must at one time or another. Observe how greatly the source of personal power has increased through the application of these six principles. The individual has found out where that person is going in life. That person has acquired the friendly cooperation of all the services are needed to help reach his or her goal. The individual has become pleasing, thereby ensuring the continued cooperation of others. She has acquired the art of drawing from the source of infinite intelligence and expressing that power through applied faith, has learned to make stepping stones of stumbling blocks of personal defeat. Despite of all of these advantages, however, the person whose definite major purpose leads in the direction of higher practice of personal achievement will come many times to the point of that person's career, when he or she will need the benefits of the seventh principle, creative vision. This principle enables one to look into the future and to judge it by the comparison with the past and to with the new and better plan for attaining one's hopes and aims through the workshop of imagination. And here, for the first time, perhaps a person may discover his sixth sense has begun to draw upon it for the knowledge which is not available through organized sources of human experience, accumulated knowledge. But in order to make sure that this person puts this benefit to practical use, he must impress and apply the eighth principle, personal initiative. This is the principle that starts action and keeps it moving to a definite end. It ensures one against the destructive habit of procrastination, indifference, laziness, and approximation of the importance of this principle may be had by recognizing that it is the habit producer in connection with the seven preceding principles. For it is obvious that application of no principle may become a habit except by the application of personal initiative, the importance of personal. This principle may be further evaluated by recognition of the fact that it's the sole means by which one may exercise full and complete control over the only thing that the Creator has Thoughts do not organize and direct themselves. They need guidance, inspiration, and access can be given only by one's personal initiative. But personal initiative is sometimes misdirected, therefore it needs to be supplemented guidance that is available through the nine principles of accurate thinking. Accurate thinking is not only ensures one against the misdirection of personal initiative, but it also assures one against the error of judgment, guesswork, and premature decisions. It also protects one against the influence of one's own undependable emotions by modifying them through the power of reason, commonly known as a head. Yet the individual who has mastered these nine principles will possess tremendous power, but personal power may be often it is dangerous power if it is not controlled and directed through the application of the 10th principle, self-discipline. Self-discipline cannot be had for the mere asking, nor can it be acquired quickly. It's the product of carefully established and carefully maintained habits, which in many instances can be acquired only by many years of painstaking effort. So we have come to the point that which the power of the will must be brought into action, for self-discipline is solely the product of the will. Countless people have risen to great power by the application of the preceding nine principles, only to meet with disaster or to carry others to defeat by their lack of self-discipline and the use of pure power. This principle, when mastered and applied, gives one complete control over one's greatest enemy, oneself. Self-discipline will begin the application of the 11th principle, concentration of endeavor. The power of concentration is also a product of the will. It is so closely related to self-discipline that the two have been called the twin brothers of this philosophy. Concentration saves one from the dissipation of one's energy and is in keeping the mind focused upon the subject of its major purpose until it has taken over by the subconscious section of the mind and they are made ready and for translation into its physically equivalent. They are the law of cosmic habit force. It is the camera's eye of the imagination through which the detailed outline of the one's aims and purposes is required. The subconscious section of the mind, hence it is indispensable. Now look again and see how greatly one's personal power has grown by the application of these 11 principles. But even these are not sufficient for every circumstance of life. For there are times when one must have a friendly cooperation of many people, such as customers and business clients in a profession or votes in an election to public office, all of which may be had through the application of 12 principle cooperation. Cooperation differs from the mastermind principle in that it's a human relationship that's needed and may be had without a definite alliance with others, based upon a complete fusion of the minds for the attainment of the definite purpose. Without the cooperation of others, one cannot attain success in a higher bracket of personal achievement. For cooperation is a means of the major value by which one may extend the space one occupies in the minds of others, which is sometimes known as goodwill. Friendly cooperation brings the store of customers back to as repeat customers. Hence, it is a principle that belongs definitely in the philosophy of success will be regardless of the occupation and follow. Cooperation is attained more freely and willingly by the application of the 13th principle. Enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is a contagious state of mind which not only aids one in gaining the cooperation of others, but more important than this, it inspires the individual to draw upon and use the power of one's own imagination. It inspires action also in the expression of personal initiative and leads to the habit of concentration of endeavor. Moreover, it is one of the qualities of the major importance of pleasing personality, and it makes easy the application of the principle of going the extra mile. In addition to all these benefits, enthusiasm gives force to conviction to the spoken word. Enthusiasm is a product of motive, but it is difficult to maintain without the aid of the 14th principle, the habit of health. Sound physical health provides a suitable housing place for the operation of the mind, hence it is essential for enduring success, assuming that the word success shall embrace all the requirements for happiness. Here again, the word habit comes into prominence, for sound health begins the health consciousness that can be developed only by the right habits of living sustained through a self-discipline. Sound health provides the basis for enthusiasm, and enthusiasm encourages sound health. So the two are like the chicken and the egg. No one can determine which came into existence first, but everyone knows that Both are essential for the production of either health and enthusiasm are like that. Both are essential for human progress and happiness. Now take inventory again and count up the gains of the powers the individual has attained by the application of these 14 principles. It has reached proportions so stupendous that it staggers the imagination, yet it is not sufficient to ensure one against failure. Therefore, we shall have to add the 15th principle, budgeting time and money. One gets a headache at the mention of saving time and money. Nearly everyone wishes to spend both time and money freely, but budget and save them never. However, independence and freedom of the body and mind, the two great desires of all mankind, cannot become enduring realities without the self-discipline of this strict budgeting system. Hence, this principle is of necessity and important, essential to the philosophy of human individual achievement. Now we are reaching the ultimate of the attainment of the personal power. We have got the sources of power and how we may tap them, apply them at will to any desired end, and that power is so great that nothing can resist it, save only the fact that the individual may unwisely apply it to his own destruction and the destruction of others. Hence, to guide one in the right use of power, it is necessary to add the 16th principle, the golden rule applied. Also, the emphasis on the word applied. Belief in the soundness of the golden rule is not enough to be enduring benefit, and in order that it may serve as a safe guide in the use of the personal power, it must be applied as a matter of habit in all human relationships. While this may appear to be quite an undertaking, the benefits of applying this profound rule of human relationships are worthy of the efforts necessary to develop it into a habit. The pleasantries of failure to live by this rule are too numerous for description and detail. Now we have attained the ultimate in personal power, and we have provided ourselves with the necessary insurance against the misuse. Now we need from here on is the means by which this power may be made permanent during our entire lifetime. We shall climax this philosophy therefore with the only known principle by which we may attain this desire, and the 15th and the last principle of this philosophy, cosmic habit force. Cosmic habit force is the principle by which all habits are fixed and made permanent in the varying degrees. As stated, it is the controlling principle of the entire philosophy, into which the preceding 16 principles blend and become a part, and it is the controlling principle of all natural laws of the universe. It is the principle that gives the fixation of habit in the application of the preceding principles of this philosophy. Thus, it is controlling factor in conditioning the individual mind for the development and the expression of the prosperity consciousness, which is so essential in the attainment of personal success. Mere understanding of the 16 preceding principles will not lead anyone into the attainment of personal power. The principle must be understood and applied as a matter of strict habit, and habit is the sole work of the law. Have cosmic habit force. Cosmic habit force is synonymous with the great river of life, to which frequent references have been made previously, for it consists of negative positive potentiality as to all forms of energy. The negative application is called hypnotic rhythm because it has a hypnotic effect on everything that it contacts. We may see its effect in one way or another on every human being. It is the sole means by which a poverty consciousness becomes fixed at the habit. It's the builder of all established habits of fear, envy, greed, revenge, and desire for something to happen. It fixes the habits of hopelessness and indifference. It is the builder of the habit of hypochondria, through which millions of people suffer all through their lives with imaginary illness. It is also the builder of failure consciousness, which undermines the self-confidence of millions of people. In build it fixes all negative habits with postulates of their nature and effects. Thus, it is a failure side of the great river of life. The success side of the river, the positive side, fixes all constructive habits, such as the habit of definiteness of purpose, the habit of going the extra mile, the habit of applying the golden rule in human relationships, and of all the other habits which one must develop in order apply it to get the benefits of the 16 preceding principles of this philosophy and examination of habit. Now let us examine this word habit. Webster Dictionary gives the word many definitions, among them a behavior, a pattern acquired by frequent repetition of physiologic exposure that shows itself in regularity or increased facility of performance. Webster's definition runs out into considerable additional details, but no part of it comes within sight of describing the law that fixes all habits. This omission being due, no doubt, to the fact that the law of cosmic habit force has not been revealed to the editors of this dictionary. But we observe one significant and important word in the Webster definition. The word repetition is important because it describes the means by which any habit is begun. Habit of definite of purpose. For example, become a habit only by repetition of the thought of that purpose, by bringing the thought into the mind repeatedly, by repeatedly submitting the thought to the imagination, a burning desire for its fulfillment until the imagination creates a practical plan for attaining this desire by applying the habit of faith in connection with the desire and doing it so intensely and repeatedly that one may see oneself already in possession of that desired object even before attaining it. The building of voluntary positive habits calls for the application of self-discipline, persistence, willpower, and faith, all of which are valuable to the person who has assimilated the 16 preceding principles of this philosophy. Voluntary habit building is self-discipline in its highest and noblest form of application. All voluntary positive habits are product of willpower directed toward the attainment of definite ends. They originate with the individual, not with cosmic habit force, and they must be grounded in the mind through repetition of thought and deeds until they are taken over by cosmic habit force in a given fixation, after which they operate automatically. The word habit is an important word in connection with this philosophy of individual achievements, for it represents the real cause of every person's economic, social, professional, occupational, and spiritual conditioning in life. We are where we are and we what we are because of our fixed habits, and we may be where we wish to be and what we wish to be only by the development and maintenance of our voluntary habits. Thus we see that this entire philosophy is individually inevitably to an understanding and application of the law of cosmic habit force. The major purpose of each of the 16 preceding principles of this philosophy is that of aiding the individual in the development of a particular specialized form of habit that is necessary to take full possession of his own mind. This too must become a habit. Mind power is always actually engaged on one side of the river or the other. The purpose of this philosophy is to enable one to develop, maintain habits of thought and of deed, which keep one's mind concentrated upon the certain side of the river. This is the sole burden of philosophy. Mastery and assimilation of philosophy, like every other desirable thing, has a definite birth price which must be paid before this benefit may be enjoyed. That price, among other things, is internal vigilance, determination, persistence, and the will to make life pay off on one's own terms instead of accepting substitutes of poverty and misery and disillusionment. There are two ways of relating oneself to life. One is that of being horse while life rides. The other is that of becoming the rider while life is horse. The choice is to whether one becomes the horse or the rider is the privilege of every person. And this much is certain. If one does not choose to become the rider of life, one is sure to be forced to become the horse. Life either rides or is ridden. It never stands still. The relationship of the ego and cosmic habit force. As a student of this philosophy, you are probably interested in the method by which one may transmute the power of thought into a physical equivalent. And you are also probably interested in learning how to relate yourself to others in the spirit of harmony. Unfortunately, our public school have been silent on both of these important needs. Our educational system has concentrated on mental development and has failed to give the understanding of the way emotional and personality developed habits are required, acquired, and corrected. His indictment is not without sound foundation. Our public school system has failed in its obligations according to Dr. Link because the law of the cosmic habit force was recently revealed, and now it has been recognized with a great mass of educators. Everyone knows that practically everything we do from time to time, begin to walk, is the result of habits. Walking and talking are habits. Our manner of eating and drinking are habits. Our sex activities are the result of habit. Our relationship with others, whether they are positive or negative, are the results of habits. But few people understand why and how we form habits. Habits are inseparably related to the human ego. Thus, let us turn the analysis of this greatly misunderstood subject of the ego. But let us recognize that the ego is the to the faith in all of the states of mind of men. Throughout this philosophy, great emphasis has been placed upon the distinction between passive faith and active faith. The ego is the medium of expression of all Therefore, we must know something of its nature and possibilities in order that we may make the best use of it. We must learn how to stimulate the ego to action and how to control and guide it to the attainment of present ends. Above all, we must disabuse our minds of the popular error of believing the ego to be only a medium of expression of manhood. The word ego is alleged origin, it means I, but it also connotes a driving force which may be organized and made to serve as a medium of translating desire into state through action. Misunderstood power of the ego. The word ego refers to all the factors of one's personality. Therefore, the ego is subject to development, guidance, and control through voluntary habits which we develop deliberately or with purposes. A great philosopher who devoted his entire life to the study of the human mind and body provided us with body practical foundation for the study of the ego when he stated, your body, whether living or dead, is a collection of millions of little energies that can never die. These energies are separate and individual at times. They act in some degree of harmony. The human mind body is a different mechanism of life, capable but not accumulated to control the forces within it, such as habitual cultivation of special excitement through the emotion, may marshal these forces to the accomplishment of some important end. We are satisfied with many experiments that this power of marshalling and using these images can be in every person cultivated to high degree. The air and light food water you take are agents of the force which comes from the sky and earth. You idly float upon the tide of circumstances to make up your daily life and the opportunities of doing something better than you are drift beyond your reach and pass away. Humanity is hampered by so many influences that from time immemorial no real effect has been made to gain control of the impulses that run loose in the world. It has been and still is easier to let things go as they will rather than exert the will to direct them. But the dividing line between the success and failure is found at the stage where endless drifting ceases, where deafness of purpose begins. We are all creatures of emotions, passions, circumstances, and accidents. What the mind will be and what the heart will be, what the body will be, are problems which are shaped to the drift of life. Even when special attention is given to any of them, if you will sit down and think for a while, you will be surprised to see how much of your life is spent here drift. Look at the creative life and see its effort to express itself. The three senses branches towards the sunlight rockets to its leaves to inhale air even underground. Sends forth this road in search of water and minerals it needs for food. This you call inanimate life, but it represents the force that comes from the source and operates for some purpose. There is no place on a globe where it is not found. The air is so loaded with it that the cold north, the sky shines and the body freezes. And yet the relative temperature yields to the warm, the electric conditions may alarm that. What is but a liquid union of gases and is charged with electrical, mechanical, and chemical energies, any one of which is capable of great service and great damage to man. Wahigiru, 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 Wahigiru.